Hey there, it's Sam here from BMT School of Music, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play Hard Rain's Gonna Fall by Bob Dylan. So this song is in drop D tuning, so you're going to need to tune your guitar like you normally would, but you're going to want to tune the bottom E string to a D. I'm not going to teach you how to do that here because that's easy enough to look up on YouTube. Sometimes your guitar tuner is okay to tune to drop D, or just look on YouTube for drop D guitar tutorial. You'll find like a 3-minute video to do that, okay? So this means that when you play a D chord, you can hit the A and the E string, and it will all sound really good together. It's like a really big D chord. And the next thing you want to do is put capo on fret 2, okay? So then you've got your drop D, and you also capo on fret 2 as well. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is learn what the chords are to the song. So firstly, it has that D chord that I just showed you. So it's got the big D chord. Okay, the next one is called A over E. It's a little bit unusual because of the tuning. And what you're going to do is you're going to play an A chord, but you're going to use your thumb to play the bottom E string on fret 2. So we'll add that note. I'm usually playing an A chord with finger 1, just flattened across. You can do that too. And then again, that thumb is on the bottom E string. Then there's also a weird G chord where you play the G chord without the bottom note. Because of the tuning, your G is going to sound out of tune. So you're going to play the G chord without that note, and you're just going to play that. So it's a 5-string chord. There are also 2 slightly strange chords where you hit all the strings, and you're going to play a partial bar chord here, and that's a G and an A over D, okay? So here what you're going to do is, if you know your sort of first position F chord, you're basically going to play that shape there. If you don't know that chord, don't worry. So what you're going to do is you're going to get the top 4 strings, so the top E, the B, the G, and the D string, and you're going to play, if I go from the top E, your first finger is going to go flat across the top E, fret 3, and also on the B, fret 3 as well. So you've got these 2 notes to start with. Then you're going to get your second finger, and you're going to put that on fret 4 on the G. And then you're going to get your third finger and put that on fret 5 of the D. Like that. Now, if you're not familiar with this chord and you're struggling with this chord, now is the time to pause the video and take some time to practice it. It can really take quite a while to get the hang of this. It's partial bar chord. It's not as easy as your classic open chords. So ideally this song, in our guitar program, we actually have this in level 3. So that gives you an idea of the difficulty. So you've got this chord, so G over D, and then you're also going to play the same chord shape on fret 5, like that. And the next thing that we're going to go over is the strumming patterns, okay? So in this song, if I just share my screen here, then you'll be able to see what the strumming pattern is. And we can see that the song is in 3/4 time. So you're going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you add your ands to that counting, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now on beat 1, what you're going to do is you're going to play a bass note or bottom of the chord. So that would be with a D, would be that bottom E. Now I actually hit 2 or 3 strings, and Bob Dylan does something very similar too. So you'd have 1 and. Then on the 2 and 3 and, you're just going to strum down, up, down, up. So you'll have down, up, down, up. So you've got your 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and, which is going to complete that strumming pattern. 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3, and it's a shuffle feel. So it's bouncy. Just a second ago then I was playing it straight, so mine slipped a little bit. So 1, 2 and 3 and 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you play the A over E, you'll hit the bottom E again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then with the partial bar chords, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And with the G chord, this is going to be the trickiest one. because the G chord, if you remember, it doesn't have the bottom E string. So probably the biggest mistake that you could easily make with this one is you're going to play like a segmented partial G chord, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to think, and you're going to hit the A string like that. The hardest thing with that is trying not to hit the bottom E. So what I make sure that I'm doing with this is that my first finger is blocking the bottom E. So if I do hit that string, it's just going to be dead. It could be a little bit more intentional, but you want to try and just get that string by itself. And with your right hand technique, that may possibly be the trickiest part of the song. Okay, so we've covered the strumming pattern, we've covered the chords, we've also covered the tuning, and we've covered the capo as well. And if you're patient enough to make sure that you have all of those down, so make sure that your drop D tuning is properly tuned, make sure that your capo is not wonky like mine. It should be, I always think, a couple of millimeters away from the fret, like that, okay? So that all the strings ring nice and clear, which I don't think they did just then. Try again. I do have a better capo, I couldn't find it. Got a really good G7 one. I've got one of these cheap Chinese capos. And so then you've got your chords. And you've got your strumming pattern. And that's going to be no different if you're playing a D, an A, partial bar chords, and it's just going to be a bit different. Okay, so now you're ready to start ploughing through that song and figuring out what goes where. So we're going to go to the chord chart here, and I'm going to play and sing just a little bit of this. Bob Dylan, he's got some very, very beautiful way that he fits the guitar around his vocals, around his phrasing of his vocals. So if you're not familiar with this, on this chord chart, so dashed chord chart, it's in 3/4 time. This here, you have a D followed by 2 dashes. What that's going to mean is you're going to strum a D on beat 1, you're going to strum the D on beat 2 and beat 3. So think of these dashes here basically as like a ditto, same again. Okay, so that would then show us that D is ringing through this bar, through this bar. Then we're going to change to our G over B, which is the technical name for that G chord I showed you with the missing bottom E. And then you're going to strum for a further 4 bars of D. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate what that sounds like. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then G, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And I'm going to demo that again. So from the D, 1, 2, 3. In fact, I'll do it off of the screen share. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, then G, 1, 2, 3, then back for 4 bars of D, 2, 3, and 4, and that's your intro. All right. Now after that, you're going to go into a more traditional chord and lyric. What I love about our chord charts is they always have the chord duration written after them. And that was inspired by Rob Hampton of Heartwood Guitar. He's one of the only people I've ever seen that ever does that, actually writing how long the chord goes for. So we have a D for 2 bars. Then here, where it doesn't have a bracket showing you chord duration, you assume that is, or it defaults to 1 bar, then you've got your D for 4 bars, okay? So this verse, let me just demo this verse. So 1, 2, 3, oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? 2, 3, 4, next line. Where have you been, my darling young one? 2, 3, 4. Now G over D is one of those partial bar chords. I've stumbled on the side. And then the A over D is the other partial bar chord of 12 misty mountains. 2, 3, 4th line. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. 2, 3, 4. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. 2, 3, 4. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. 2, 3. Last line. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of the graveyard. 2, 3, 4. So this is really quite simple. I hope that demo gives you a clear idea how it goes. If you just think of the order of the chords, you're going D, then you're going G over B, and then you're going D. Okay, so that's just D, G over B, D. And then just making sure you get 2 bars of D, 1 of G, 4 of D. It's uneven, so 7 bars. Where have you been, my blue-eyed son? 2, 3, 4. So I make a very deliberate effort to count the bars at the end of each line where there's no vocals to kind of follow. So then you've got 3 bars of D, 4 of A over E. So that's going to be, where have you been, my darling young one? 2, 3, 4. So that word 1 counts as actually counting that first bar. And then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines are exactly the same. 2 bars of G over D, that's your partial bar chord number 1. Don't forget that at the top of the chord chart, you do have a chord guide here if you need to look up those again. Little tip, when you've got frets 5, 4, 3, 3, remember that you are using a capo, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting up from there, not just kind of looking at what would be fret 5, otherwise you're going to get really confused there, okay? And so that's partial bar chord number 1, a little capo buzz there. And then the second partial bar chord, which is A over D, which is there, which is typed wrong. That should be 7, 6, 5, 5. I love using Google Doc to do chord charts, edit them really quickly. Can't do that with PDF. Anyway, so this is going to go 1 bar of this one. Sorry, 2 bars of this one. 1, 2, 1 bar of this one. 1, then 4 bars of D. 1, 2, 3, 4. So think of it as 2, 1, 4. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, 2, change, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Last one, 1, 2, change, 1, change, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how the second part of that verse goes. So last thing that I'm going to show you how to do today is the chorus. And if you're really doing well with that, you're going to find the chorus easier. So we're going to go D, A, D, G, D, A, D, and then it goes instrumental, and this little part here that's done as dashed because there's no lyrics along to it. That's exactly the same as the intro. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate that. So it's a heart, it's a heart, it's a heart, it's a heart, it's a heart race. We're gonna fall. 1, 2, 3, 4. So very, very simple. You're just going D for 2 bars, A, then back to D, 2 bars of each, back to G, then D, then A, then into that intro where you got 2 of D, 1, 2, 1 of G, 1, then 4 of D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there you have it. That is how to play Hard Rain's Gonna Fall by Bob Dylan. So hopefully in this video you've got all those different components and then a really thorough run through of different sections in the song. So I would recommend that you get your chords down, that you get your strumming pattern down, and as you work through, just read the chord chart quite vigorously. It's quite a habit of a lot of guitarists when they're learning, is to just try and do a lot of stuff from memory. But honestly, my saying is, don't play from memory unless you've memorized it. And we find a lot of our students, they will try and play a song, they will only memorize, say, 40% of that song. Therefore, they will only practice 40% of that song. When they return for another lesson, we have to fill them back in on that 60% just because they're not reading enough at home. And also listening to the audio constantly as well. I think when you're using this video, you'll have the demonstration of me playing it on the guitar, and that's extremely helpful. But if you are just using the chord chart by itself, have YouTube open and keep playing snippets of that. So again, that's something that is quite undervalued with practicing at home. Anyway, take care and